Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Rate Don't Hate, the show where we judge the performance, not necessarily the performer. I am joined by regular of Rate Don't Hate, Mr. Guy Drinkle. Guy, welcome back to the show. Are you ready to do some ratings after what I would assume is a professional win by Liverpool this past weekend?
An overly tense 1-0 win, which was pretty... I'm sure if you watched it back now, it'd feel like the easiest win of the season. But yeah, watching it and feeling we've missed a few chances here. This is one where it used to bite us on the arse, but no, it was a really good win. I think we managed the game really well, as we'll talk as we go through the ratings. But it's weird because we kind of before we started recording, not really huge ratings, but it was just really well managed game, wasn't it?
Yeah, very well managed game. They didn't really pose a threat unless you want to count all the offside goals that they could have gotten.
Everyone else does.
I suppose. Yeah, Almiron got one, I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of their offside goals. But yeah, it seems when Liverpool use a high line, then the high line is seen as some sort of risk and weakness. When Man City use it, it's brilliant defending. I don't know how that works out, but for us, I think it's fair to say we're used to being confident at the high line, but looking back on that Newcastle game, I think I'm more confident when we're ahead by more than one goal than when it's a one goal away
Only
from
takes
home.
one, doesn't it?
Yeah, one goal away from home. It got a bit nervy there towards the end. But yeah, as you mentioned, a very, very comfortable game in the end, and in hindsight, quite comfortable. We will start things off where we always do on this podcast, and that's at the back. And it starts off with a bang in terms of accuracy, because I've got Alison Becker here getting a 7.6 from AI Pro subscribers, and then 7.5 from Stephen Smith, our regular rater on AnfieldIndex.com. Guy, you've gone with a 6. You're slightly off what the others had to say. Let me read what Stephen had to say here, and you can maybe let me know whether it fits your summation of Alison's performance and it's just a difference of scoring systems, or if it's something completely different. He mentions that the nervy situations were inevitable, but this man dealt with such moments like the world's greatest keeper should. The chances for Newcastle were limited, but everything was smothered by the giant Brazilian. Do you share those sentiments?
He had nothing to do.
There were a couple of shots that they had where
come on.
Yeah.
Jesus, Adrian or me could have saved them. God, yeah. He had a 6. You know me by now. A 6 is just you've had really little to do, and that's how I felt about this. I mean, the Guimaraes chance at the end, any Premier League goalkeeper should be saving that. I think there was that one in the first half. I can't remember who took the shot, but another comfortable save, and he screwed up the 1v1 and the offside chance. Let's knock him down for that. But no, he had very little to do. I mean, his claiming was fine, his kicking was fine, his sweeping was fine whenever we needed it, which was very rare, to be fair. But yeah, he wasn't really involved in my rating system. If you're not really involved, I start at 6 and then move down and up. So you get a 6 if you don't do too much. So there it be.
Fair enough. And look, they only had 2 shots that were on target. There was another shot that was off target, and then their 4th shot was blocked. So I get where you're coming from with your with your rating for Alisson. It's not to say he was bad on the day. It's just to say he didn't get a chance to show us how good he really is. And I suppose that's a good thing. If I'm giving Alisson's sixes more to do with the other team's performance than necessarily our performance, I think that's going to bode us well for the rest of the season. And, attributing to that lack of activity for Alisson was the centre-back pairing, because we went back to the tried and tested Matip and Virgil van Dijk at the centre-backs. Matip had 69 touches, Van Dijk 72, which is as close as ever sort of type of situation where Van Dijk only has 3 touches more than Joel Matip. Were you surprised, or because it's kind of those situations where you need a bit of creativity from Matip? We know sometimes he can be that creative outlet that he got quite involved in terms of touches. I mean, clearly it wasn't a game similar to the one we played last time out against Everton, where they just said, have the ball, we'll try and park a bus and hope for something, a dive on the other end and get a result. But I mean, it's a 7.2 for both Joel Matip and Virgil van Dijk from AI Pro subscribers. And looking at Steven's ratings for them both, he's got a 7.5 for Virgil van Dijk and a 7 for Joel Matip. What was your thinking in your ratings? I see here for the two, you've got a 6 for Matip, a 7 for Van Dijk. I mean, is there much to write home about? How much praise do we give them for those offside lines, so to speak, that they obviously, Van Dijk being the key one in I'm assuming, in marshalling everyone and making sure that everyone's keeping that disciplined line, and probably Matip for, following suit and then doing the business in cleaning up any messy situations that come about from what would be a threatening Newcastle at times. You look at some of their players, the Almirons, who are fast but don't necessarily have an end product, and then the St. Maximans, who will do step overs even if you're 10 yards away from him. But what were your thoughts on our centre backs' performances?
Yeah, Matip almost similarly to Alisson. I don't remember him being too involved, but the line was spot on, as you say, and you got to praise Matip for that. Van Dijk, I went a smidge higher because I remember him doing a few more nice passes and stuff like that in comparison. But yeah, Van Dijk, I think he had a bit more, a smidgen more defending to do because Almiron was on their right, if I remember correctly, and obviously Robbo and Van Dijk take care of that side, whereas Joel on the left, and then St. Maximin sort of being a false nine, but just kind of popping up wherever. They didn't have much direct defending to do, but Almiron was certainly the best outlet out of them three. And yeah, I think he just defended Almiron a bit more than Matip had to defend Joelinton on the right, and Maximin whenever the hell he just popped into the game to do a step over and then bugger off for the next 30 minutes. So yeah, I just went Van Dijk a bit higher, but if we did 0.5s, I'd probably do a 7.5 for Van Dijk and a 7 for Matip as well to make it sound less negative, but I can't do that, so I wanted to differentiate it a smidge. But Van Dijk, just because I thought he had a smidge more to do and he was a bit better on the ball, as you say. But yeah, they didn't really have any direct defending to do because, well, Joelinton's now N'Golo Kante, Maximan's a winger, and Almiron was a number 10 back in the day, so there wasn't really a direct threat till Chris Wood came on, whatever minute that was, and he didn't add too much either. So yeah, not too much defending to do, but the high line, I think we caught them off quite a lot in this game, and it worked really well, so you can't really knock them down. I probably should have went for a 7 for each, to be fair, but next season, introduce the 0.5s to Tadiwa. That's what I'm saying.
We will see if that campaign is successful. We stick to the whole numbers on this podcast for the panelists. Obviously, Stephen has the luxury of going to the 0.5s if he so chooses, and AI Pro subscribers, it's an average. So 7.2s is how it ended up there. We've got Joe Gomez. I almost called him Jomez, as he is affectionately known by Mr. Guy Drinkle. Jomez obviously comes in deputizing for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Robertson probably, I'm assuming, wouldn't have started if Tsimikas was fit and well to play. But anyway, Robertson plays the game, and I mean the efforts all the way through to the final whistle. That age-old play to the whistle situation. Robbo was playing right until the final whistle, doing sprints in the extra time of 90 minutes is just absolutely mad. But I think the more interesting one for me was the performance of Joe Gomez, because as Liverpool fans, I think we tend to get a little bit nervy whenever Trent's not playing. But so far, so good for Joe Gomez in the games that he's come in and had to do a job on that right back side. And we all know he's not a right back. It's also the place and the position where he ended up getting injured. So I'm always very, very scared whenever he plays in that position. But he seems to be fine, doesn't seem to have any ghosts that he's seeing on the field or anything like that. What did you think of Joe Gomez's performance specifically? And then if you want to touch on Robertson, please go ahead and explain, it's not controversial marks here. You've got an 8 for Joe Gomez, a 7 for Robbo. As I said, AI Pro subscribers, 7.8 for Robbo and an 8.2 for Joe Gomez. So Joe getting slightly more love in this game, but as I assumed, it's probably because he was the one that people would have been looking out for to see what kind of performance he would give. But Stephen summarized it as saying Joe Gomez, it was effort and tenacity in abundance. He was up and down the line constantly and looks like the relative freedom is being basked in. The odd crossfield ball was on point and the crossing was pretty good too. The defense work was never in doubt, and this was another great outing for England's best defender. Do you agree, England's best defender? And what did you think of this performance?
Yeah, certainly best centre-back for me. Yeah, whilst we're on it, there's not too much to talk about. I'd probably play him and John Stones myself. I think Stones is pretty good. And Gomez is, I think them two complement each other pretty well, so I'd go with them too. It's just, he's almost just a victim of circumstances, Because, obviously the injuries and stuff, but he is an excellent player. And it's showing his versatility because, to be fair, what was it? Was it 17, 18? It was him and Trent rotating at right back before before Gomez's injury more so, but then Trent just kind of became what he is now and further developed. But Gomez was always pretty good at right back, but then he just took the steps at centre back. But it's probably more so the attacking side that surprises people when he goes there, or certainly surprises me because, we taken out Trent, Thiago, and Mo in this game, and everyone was like, "Where be the creativity?" And then, to be fair, Gomez, he should have got an assist because Mane missed a chance. I think, did he create one of the Jota chances? I can't remember as well, but certainly the Mane one, if I remember correctly, where he put it past the near post. I think he was a good outlet there. I went with an 8 because defended really well in a position that's not 100% natural to him, but being that outlet that we need from our fullbacks, which you don't really expect from him, but he's just showing he's still an excellent player, and it's almost a shame we didn't trust him earlier in the season with there because we had to play Milner a couple of games at right back and stuff like that. But maybe Gomez was still unfit at that stage. But yeah, he's certainly a valuable squad player, and if he wants to go, one thing. But if he does stay, excellent centre back and seemingly an excellent right back as well.
What a pleasure. What an abundance of resources that we currently have at Liverpool at the moment. Guy, let's move up the field. James Milner, Jordan Henderson, the Milderson centre midfield partnership is played in this one. And I'd say it's probably one of the more controversial ones, at least from my eyes, seeing the way people react to it. But, Milner involved in the only goal that we scored. Henderson, kind of a steady performance to come into the holding role in such a game. I'm quoting Stephen here. He was able to screen nicely and simplified his game as needed. Can now be rested in the week for Spurs at the weekend. I think we can always get on to who should start certain games in certain situations. But for this one, it's Milner and Henderson. Before the game started and after the game finished, what were your thoughts, and did that reflect on your ratings, or did that reflect in your assessment as you were going into your ratings? Because you've gone an 8 for James Milner, a 7 for Jordan Henderson, which I believe is the highest rating of the day. If you're looking at AI Pro subscribers, they've gone a 6.6 for Henderson, a 6.8 for Milner, and Steven's gone with a 7.5 for Milner and a 7 for Henderson. So the Milderson midfield isn't getting as much love from the AI Pro subscribers as from Steven, yourself, and if I throw my ratings in there as well, I was in the 7 for both players. So could you see why they necessarily didn't get as high a rating, or is it just a case of they're so divisive at the moment that no matter what they do, similar to a Navigator, in the reverse role of that some people will just always rate them, a certain way. But yeah, from my perspective, I was scared when we started the game, because I'm looking at the likes of Joe Linton in their midfield. I'm thinking of Willock probably running past both of them at some point in time. That didn't happen in this game. They held their own, very comfortable in midfield, if I may say so. And as we said, Milner involved in the first goal, whether or not, it's controversial, I guess depends on if you're a Man City fan or a Liverpool fan. But yeah, what did you think of the Milderson performance before we eventually get on to the person that got the match winner?
Pre-game, worried. Very worried. Let's be fair here. You see them two together, it's not really worked in recent, never mind this season, probably the last couple of years. I don't think it's really worked ideally ever, to be fair. I think we've always had better options than them two as a partnership. But no, I think they played really well. Henderson didn't have loads to do as the 6, as we keep saying the defensive players didn't. But he kept the ball ticking well, he pressed well, rotated well with Naby and Milner when he went on to press, etc. So yeah, I mainly put Hendo down compared to the other ones, just because I thought the other two had a bit more impact, and I wanted to show that in the ratings. But Hendo was fine. Milner, it's probably his best game for Liverpool that I remember. It's probably not overall, but I mean, certainly in recent years, it's certainly his best one for me. Especially in the Premier League game. He obviously gets the cup games and stuff like that. But no, he was good. He obviously I think he lost the ball, then made a tackle to get the ball back for the goal. But yeah, that's what you kind of expect from James Milner is the work ethic, if I can speak, which is there. Good tackle, definitely not a foul, as much as certain. Well, it seemed to be BBC for some reason. BBC wanted to wish it into existence being a foul. Passed well, tracked well, pressed well. I thought he was just really good. Not too much outstanding work, but yeah, played a big part in the goal. Obviously, Henderson was involved with it as well. But yeah, I thought them two did quite well. And I had this theory before the game that Milner can only play against bad teams, because I think the only team we've beaten with him is I think it was Norwich, Palace, if I remember correctly. And then there was I think it was Man United as well, who were obviously dreadful. So maybe Newcastle are a bad team. But yeah, it was good to see. I mean, would I start it again in another game? No. But it was good. It was nice to see them play well, to be fair. But I still miss Thiago. That's how I'll word it. But yeah, they were good on the day. Very good on the day, to be exact.
Yeah, and as I said at the beginning, we judge the performance, not necessarily the performer. And I'm known for being, in inverted commas, quite harsh with my ratings, but I do tend to think that I give the rating that I think the players have earned. It doesn't have all too much to do with me, quite frankly. If they earn a good rating, they'll get a good rating. If they don't, they won't get a good rating. I thought Milner and Henderson were quite solid in this game. Obviously, I was quite scared before the game, as mentioned, and after the game, it was sort of a hand breathe situation, getting through the game with them. But you know what? They held their own. I wonder if the fact that Milner, he comes on every single game, whether if it's starting or coming off the bench, and maybe with his age, keeping him in some kind of rhythm is what they've seen is going to help him out this season, because I can imagine trying to get things going at his age, after, in a cold start, after not having played a lot of game and not being up to match speed, maybe might be a bit more of a challenge than someone else. But it seems like it's been intentional to keep him in rhythm, even if it's substitution appearances, 3, 4, 5 substitution appearances in a row. Milner always seems to come onto the pitch. And I'm starting to notice that a lot more in a methodical type of situation, not necessarily just why is Milner, because I always wondered, why is Milner always coming on every single game? And I think it is to try and keep him in some kind of match rhythm for games like this, that when he does start, he is in some kind of flow. And yeah, as you said, involved in the goal, kind of the Cristiano Ronaldo arsonist and firefighter situation there, losing the ball and then getting it back. But yeah, no harm done. Actually good for Liverpool in that sense. Milner, similar to Robertson, those type of players that have that dog in them, that will always, chase the bone and always be down in the trenches and willing to do, maybe the dirty work, so to speak, that other people might not necessarily be able to do. And I thought that was quite evident in this game, so that was good to see. But Guy, let's move on to the third midfielder in that midfield trio, Naby Keita. Obviously, as I said, so Klopp going with the 3 midfielders that probably bring out the most controversial opinions. Do you think that was intentional?
It's just Klopp. He threw a grenade in on Twitter, and then he's called like LFC. He's called like Klopp 2016 or something, isn't he? He's just what's what? Got like Naby Lad 17 or something. But he just throws a grenade and then just watches the world burn.
Absolutely fantastic.
I hope he is actually on Twitter somewhere, just taking the absolute piss.
That would be amazing.
It would be
amazing.
But
yeah. So Naby Keita obviously gets the goal in this game. I mean, the composure to drop the shoulder, roll it when many people would have shot in that situation, and then obviously smack the ball in between the defenders. When he rolled the ball, obviously I'm in the speed of the moment, I'm thinking, oh, that's so saucy, that's fantastic. Then I have this immediate fear that there are 500 people on the goal line. He's going to hit one of them. It's not going to go in. Did you also have that fear, or was that just me?
Yeah, but it happened so quickly.
There was a slight little like, okay, that's fine.
Like, I think the first time you watch it, it's like, oh. But then it's just. I think he may be the only midfielder who scores that. To be fair, I don't like Thiago doesn't really get that far forward, so I think Naby's probably the only midfielder who would have the natural composure in that situation to take it round the goalkeeper, see there's 3 players on the line and just go, weak foot, I'll put it through ball ears. So yeah, I think it's the perfect play for that situation. And I can't remember if it was this podcast, I might have just even said it on Twitter, like, if Naby does sign the new deal, which is an if, obviously, at the minute, but with Klopp signing his, obviously, all the stories coming out with that he wants to hand out contracts to everyone, which I can't really complain. If he signs the new deal, I do really want to see more of him in that attacking role. Like, I love the rotation between him and Thiago, but if we're linked with Tchouaméni, I don't know. I barely say. I don't think I've actually seen him play. But if Tchouaméni becomes the new Naby, and he can rotate with Thiago, and then Naby and Hendo can rotate on the right side or whatever, or Elliot Jones, whoever. I really want to see more of Naby in that role, because I think he can offer something that is completely unique to Naby in that role, whereas him playing the Thiago role, I think he does bits and bobs that are slightly different, but I think Thiago does most of that differently. I think maybe Naby defends slightly better, but overall you'd be like Thiago's pretty much better at everything. Whereas in that attacking role, I think he offers stuff Henderson doesn't. I think he offers stuff that Jones doesn't, that Elliott doesn't. And I think as a complete package this season, because we always mention Henderson's weird season, I think if that's the midfield that we can pick more often than not, I think that would be a great pick. But we know the injury issues there. But yeah, I went with Naby with 9 with this one. I think even the goal was like great composure, but I think he played really well. Other than that, linking the midfield and the attack, and well, it's just a shame the attack didn't fancy scoring. But yeah, I think Naby's been really good this season. It's just a shame the first half of the season where he didn't, well, ever finding the right rhythm for him to help with his injury issues or whatever. But post AFCON, we just seem to have found the perfect rotation for him, and he's getting really good minutes, and we're seeing what a good player he is.
Yeah, it's really good to see. And you were in perfect harmony with AI Pro subscribers because they gave a 9 for Naby Keita there too. And yeah, you mentioned that the way he plays that role, he's more willing, it seems, to be in and around the box, more willing to take shots, and as I said, being inside the box, arriving into the box. Whereas I think most of the midfielders that play that position either end up drifting towards the wing or stay outside the box looking to cross rather than take shots, or give direct through balls in that situation. So it does offer something different. I'm glad the Liverpool website gave him man of the match, because for some reason the BT pundits gave it to James Milner. But I mean, Milner had a solid game, and as you said, probably one of his better games for Liverpool in recent memory. But I didn't think it was close between him and Naby Keita or anyone else really on who should have been man of the match. But hey ho, at least the club website gave it to Naby Keita, and AI Pro subscribers gave it to Naby Keita because he was clear favorite. I mean, Gomez came the closest with an 8.2, but yeah, Naby gets a 9 there. So that's probably not bearing the lead there in terms of who's going to get player of the match for this performance from us either. But let's move on to the forward line, because this is the way I think things can get quite interesting with the ratings. We won only 1-0, Guy. You mentioned the fact that we had opportunities in spades to get a lot more goals. I'm looking at the amount of shots that we took. We had 24 shots, Guy. 10 of them were on target, 10 of them off target, and we had 4 that were blocked. And then I'm looking at, in inverted commas, the culprits. Jota had 5 shots. Diaz had 4 shots. Mane had 3 shots. Naby Keita had 3 shots. Obviously, he gets the 1 goal from those 3 shots. Was that a factor when it came to your ratings in terms of the amount of missed chances? Because so far we've kind of been speaking about, the players played well. They didn't have too much to do. But the things they did do, they did well. But then when we start moving to the front players, the people that should have been making this game 2, 3, 4, 5-0, I thought they fell a little bit short, despite the fact that they had, promising situations where they were getting into good positions, they were being creative, they were being dangerous and unpredictable and moving around. No one just stayed up, as the 9, so to speak. They were just switching positions left, right, and center, which should have caused, in my opinion, more problems for Newcastle in terms of goals conceded than it ended up giving them. But yeah, what were your thoughts? I've got Stevens' ratings here for the front 3. He's got an 8 for Luis Diaz, the highest rating there. Mane gets a 7. Diogo Jota gets a 6.5. For Jota, he says he's having a surprising second half to the season as the rotation takes its toll. A couple of good headers were the bright parts, and his role as 4th choice forward is clear. Do you agree with that, him being now the 4th choice forward? And then also then talk about your rating for Jota, because you've gone with an 8 for Jota, whereas Stevens kind of gone with a 6.5 here. What did you see from Jota that kind of lifted your rating a lot higher than Stevens? And then in comparison to AI Pro subscribers, they've gone with a 6.4 for Jota, so they were in Stevens' camp for this one. is it that age-old debate of if Jota doesn't score, he's going to get a low rating, pretty much, whereas you've kind of bucked the trend here?
I was shocked when you read out 8 there because I thought I went with
a typo.
Possible. We'll make it work. I thought I went with a 7, but no, there it is in plain black and white. I thought he was. It was weird. He was the opposite of what he usually is. He was really good with the ball, but he couldn't shoot. It was so weird. So I went with the plus. I went with the positive side. In terms of the fourth choice thing, I don't know. For me, probably, but mine is weird. He's either amazing or wanting to get sent off, seemingly, which seems to be no middle ground. You're either trying to assault someone or you're playing really well. So yeah, I think third's still up for debate. I think Diaz for me would be first choice on the left. More picks himself because we don't have anyone else can play on the right. And the middle one, yeah, I think you just got to go horses for courses with that one. Jota, I went with the highest for Jota. I'll word it that way, right? Typo or no typo, just because I think he used the ball really well. Because when I was looking, I tend to look at the stat sites before I do this just to see if I'm chatting absolute wham. And I mean, he got a 7-7 on the SofaScore, which we know stat sites, who scored, SofaScore, whatever. Sometimes like they pick a number and then it's really high and you don't agree with it, whatever. But I mean, 4 key passes from him. One big chance is created. He did miss a big chance himself, but I think other than the one where he volleyed it, where he just needed to show a bit more composure, maybe take it down or just simply score the volley where he hit it straight at Dubravka. I think that was the big bad miss, and that's probably what's sticking in most people's memories. But in terms of his all-round performance, it's probably his best one for a little while, because what you said at the start there, I think, has been true, especially it was near the League Cup final, wasn't it, where he got injured and then came back and everyone was like, is he fit? But since then, I think this was his best use of the ball since that injury, really. So I went on, it is on the high side, seemingly. But I thought he was quite good, which is what we've needed from Jota, because I never thought pre that injury that he was that bad with the ball, which he has been in recent times. But yeah, it was good to see his good use with the ball. I probably should have went 7, but we'll make it stick. But yeah, good use of the ball. Should have scored, to be fair. But yeah, I thought that was his best all-round performance for a long while.
Yeah, and even in terms of his dribbling, which I am, quite critical of, especially on this podcast, I did think he was more intentional in this game. I think he got fouled like 2 or 3 times. He had the most dribbles as well from our forward players. So yeah, he was showing a little bit more care and intent with his dribbling. Maybe because he was being able to drift to the left-hand side a little bit more than just staying centrally in this one. We mentioned that the forward players were rotating quite a bit. But yeah, obviously maybe not as high as an 8, but in terms of just an overall performance where Jota doesn't score, I was a lot more pleased with this one than I have been in a long, long time with him, where I'm just absolutely waiting for him to score so I can bump up his rating. Otherwise, it's just not going to look too good. So hopefully that continues in terms of his performances. The 2 other players that played with him up front, Luis Diaz and Sadio Mane, obviously, Mane had quite a few chances that were glaring, in my opinion. You mentioned the Joe Gomez one when Mane side foots it and goes near post, and then also the one when Diaz did a no-look pass across the box. Mane's running onto it, opens his body up. I'm expecting him to, and with the way he opened his body up, he's showing that he's going to bend it far post. I wonder if he thought he sort of like punked the keeper there by showing like he's going far post and then try and close the foot and go near post, but the keeper reads it and it ends up looking quite a poor shot. I'd be interested to find out from him if that was the case. But what were your thoughts on those two performances? Jota and Mane 6.4s from AI Pro subscribers, so they've got the same there. But from your perspective, we mentioned the fact that Jota got the highest. You got a 7 for Diaz and then a 5 for Mane. Was it those glaring chances that kind of stood out for you in lowering Mane's rating?
It's certainly the eye-catching reason why Mane was quite a bit lower. But I think just his overall play, he just didn't play like Mane. Like I think he had a low touch. He has 28 touches in 69 minutes for Mane against Newcastle, where we pretty much dominated the entire game. I mean, Jota only had 40, so maybe a low. But I mean, look at Diaz. Diaz got 60.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that just for interest sake, let's see what Mo got in. Mo got 15. So, yeah. And he played obviously only 20 odd mins, I think. So, yeah, Mane just didn't really get involved, and when he did get involved, it was a missed chance, it was a sloppy pass or whatever. I just think he was really quite off it on the day. I don't think this one's as bad as the Everton one where he did poke someone in the face twice, but he did kind of go like studs down. I don't mean to stamp, but studs down on the ball, and it did catch the keeper. I mean, we know the referees in this country. If they're looking at that in slow mo, he's probably going off. So if that gets highlighted by VAR, he's probably going off because they'll show it in slow mo 800 times and he'll be off. So I think he's got to be more careful. Or I don't think that one was aggression, but I think in terms of the Everton game, he's got to control that aggression and harness it into what Mane does best. So yeah, a really quiet and off day for him. For me, that's why I went Mane the lowest. The missed chances were just kind of the cherry on the crap cake there. But we know if you stat bad a couple of goals, you go from a 5 to a 9. That's how it works. But yeah, it's just an off day. Should have scored that near post one, definitely. Diaz, I think he was just the outball. I don't think it was his best performance by any means. Probably should have scored. There was that near post one where it probably should have been our second corner that wasn't given in the day. But yeah, I don't remember him having a glaring miss that he didn't like create the opportunity himself in. Even though I don't think his misses was as glaring as the other two. But yeah, I think Diaz was the real outball. But if anything, I think Jota and Diaz combined quite well in this game. But yeah, just not the end product to get the higher scores, I'm afraid, mate. As I said, I think I did go high on Jota there because I did do the ratings 1 minute before the podcast. But yeah, it was an off day for all in front of goal, especially for all the forwards. I think it was just different levels of performances without the end product from all three of them, really.
Yeah, I think they will be disappointed not to have at least gotten a goal in this one, and the chances we've mentioned them. Now, Guy, coming off the bench and coming off the bench onto the pitch quite early. Fabinho comes on 68th minute, so does Mo Salah, and then Thiago comes on 77th minute. Was this Klopp just saying, okay, let's not do anything stupid in this game, or alternatively, let's keep everyone ticking over, a nice little run out for these guys in a game that we're looking just to solidify and not make any mistakes? You mentioned Mo Salah's 15 touches in that game. I thought he could have gotten a goal or an assist in this game. Couple of little situations that maybe he would have been expecting to do a bit better in. Thiago, I think of the substitutes, Thiago kind of was the more relaxed one, it felt, in terms of he didn't really have to do too much. He tried a few, skillful passes and stuff like that, but it seemed like Thiago was okay to kind of coast through this game because he knew there's bigger fish to fry a bit later on, but still being quite solid in his display. But yeah, were you surprised? He obviously he had 14 touches. I'm curious how many passes he actually had, because he had 70% passing, and for Thiago that is quite poor. But yeah, as I said, it's a game that we're now just in a different mode, trying to see it out. Just let's not do anything stupid. Just, and then obviously Fabinho comes in to add that steel defensively, that defensive mind. Is there anything too much to talk about other than the fact that maybe Mo Salah would have felt he could have gotten a goal and or an assist in this one? I see you've given sixes all round for the substitutions, which I think is quite fair. AI Pro subscribers have a 7 for Thiago after I've just buried him. Interesting stuff there. Mo Salah's got a 6.6. Fabinho's got a 6.8. And we'll round off with Steven's ratings because he's gone with a 6.5 for Fabinho. He says a welcome sight to see him close the game out. Mo Salah 6.5 as well. He said he should have ended the game late on as he still hunts to form. Or I'm assuming still hunts top form. That maybe is something that to keep an eye on. For example, we know Son is catching up to him in the golden boot race. I think Son's on 19, Salah's on 22, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you want Mo being sharp for this end of the season, and he should have maybe scored a goal in this one. Is that the only thing? I don't think it's a major concern after we've won the game, but is that the only big takeaway we can get from the substitutions, apart from, I almost forgot, that heart-stopping moment when Thiago went down and I thought he was injured. Jeez Louise, I was absolutely shaking. But he gets up and he seems to be fine. But yeah, anything noteworthy from the substitutions?
Yeah, only the fact that they came on. I mean, Ox wasn't on the bench, was he? I don't think he was. He was on the bench. Jones and Elliott.
Yeah.
And then them, obviously. So maybe not lack of trust, but, well, maybe it is a lack of trust, but, I mean, Ox isn't there. Jones was ill all the week, wasn't he? Or that's with the story coming into it. So, yeah, you'd expect Ox is probably off, which I think most people probably expect anyway. Elliott's been with the under-23s recently, and obviously he's more of an attacking midfielder. So maybe he just doesn't. Maybe he just has the select 5 midfielders. Yeah, 5 midfielders that he just wants on the pitch at all times. So yeah, maybe unless we're like 3-0 up and coasting, we won't see too much of Jones and Elliott for the rest of the season. But yeah, it's probably just to get Mins ticking for Fabinho and Thiago, because we know it's them 2+1 most of the times in games where you 100% have to win. And he obviously saw Villarreal as a more difficult situation to manage than the Newcastle game. I certainly trusted the 3 lads in midfield to do that. So yeah, just keep them ticking along. And the 3 starters did well, but yeah, the subs kind of came on. The game it didn't go mad because Newcastle really didn't do too much, but they just didn't really play too well when they came on. But the game was pretty well managed still, but Newcastle just tried a wee bit more going forward. So yeah, 6s all round, not really too much to comment on their performances individually.
Yeah, not really. And I mean, the important thing for this one was just getting the result after a quick turnaround from midweek game. Having a 12:30 kickoff away from home was going to be tough enough, but solid from Klopp. He rolled the dice, still got the 3 points. I know Stephen rated him a 9 out of 10. He said he rotated, rolled the dice, trusted his squad, and won the game. What could be the greatest period in the Reds' history is being complemented by a wonderfully managed period. The contract is signed. The tricky trip to Newcastle won. Now let's go to yet another final. Thank you for those ratings, Stephen Smith. Guy, I think that is going to do it for this podcast. Do you have a man of the match? Do you have a rating for Klopp? I don't know if it's, I agree with Stephen from that sense that, being at the squad management in this game was really, really good and has kind of been the hallmark of the season, is how well Klopp has trusted people to come and do a job. And then those, the players have rewarded that trust by giving the performances. We mentioned the likes of Milner coming in, Keita coming in, Jota coming in to start, all three involved in, the goal that Keita gets there. It's nice to see substitutes or non-starters and squad players come in, be impactful. Is there anything else more you want to add? Any queries with his ratings? And then you can move on to plugs if you have any.
I'd probably rate Klopp a 0 because I bought Mo in on FPL.
Fair.
Yeah, so cheers, Klopp. As a waste of transfer. Also have Trent, which probably everyone does, so probably the same boat as everyone. He obviously didn't play. Could have done with the clean sheet bonus there, but hey ho, I'll stick with my 2 points I'm sure I have for the weekend. Yeah, Klopp got it. He got it right. We won. Managed the game really well. The players we had doubts about played well. So yeah, 8 to 10. That's what you got to rate him really. Plugs. What am I on this week? Not me, but we're on live Discord for Raw tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow night for Villarreal. So if you're a subscriber listening to this, or cheeky plug for AI Pro, if you want to become a subscriber to listen to post-match Raw and other shows live, just go on the website, follow the crack, by now. So that'll be live tomorrow. I'll be producing that in the background. Next one for me will probably be Friday with Dave on Two Footed, unless I'm forgetting something obvious. But yeah, that's it. Next week, next Friday, no, this Friday, words guy. On Friday, I'll be on with Dave for Two Footed, which we're kind of merging with your show for the next month to do because you're on your hollybobs.
Yeah. So guys, do look out for Two for the podcast on EPL Index channel. Go check out all of the awesome stuff on Anfield Index. For me, a tad predictable. Go check that out. I will have a show out this week. We will cover the weekend's games coming up. Do score predictions for those. There'll be a bank it or burn it in there as well. And then I'm going on holiday, so you guys might not hear from me for quite a while from a podcasting standpoint, but I will be there in the Twitterverse and all of those good stuff at Tad Predicts on Twitter. My time zones may be a bit off considering where I'm going. But yeah, I will be able to report on the weather, guy. I know Alex usually reports the weather for you, but I will be down there. So I can give you...
Too hot.
I can give you some weather updates from that side of the world. But yeah, guys, do enjoy the rest of the season. Hopefully the Reds do deliver the quadruple and we can all celebrate. I'm looking forward to coming back to celebrations. If there's celebrations happening in Liverpool, I'm pretty sure I will travel down from London to Liverpool, celebrate with a lot of you guys from Anfield Index. I'm looking forward to seeing quite a lot of you. And yeah, up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.